Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Macon-Bibb County Pre-Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, January the 16th, and the time is slightly after 4 o'clock. Let me apologize in advance as my voice is almost leaving me, so you may see me with a cough drop tonight, making some noise, and hopefully I don't have to talk too much. I'd like to officially welcome everybody here to this meeting and call this meeting to order. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes. That's the approval of the minutes from December 19th, 2023 meeting. I get a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by Commissioner Wilder. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Next item we're going to move on to is election of Mayor Pro Tem. We'll open the floor up for nominations. Commissioner Howell, you got your light on, sir, or not?
I would. Okay. I'd like to nominate Seth Clark.
Commissioner Howell, I'd like to nominate Mayor Pro Tem Seth Clark. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wilder. This time we'll entertain a motion to vote, and we can do a roll call vote regarding that. We'll notice that Commissioner Tillman is not here today, was it? Yeah. He's not here today. So we have 8 folks voting today. So at this time we'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Commissioner Watkins on this side. Commissioner Watkins, how do you vote? No, Commissioner Watkins. Commissioner Howell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder, how do you vote? Mayor Pro Tem Clark, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Jones, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Lucas, how do you vote? No. Commissioner Bronson, how do you vote? No. And Commissioner Wynn, how do you vote? Yes. That motion carries 5-3, and we'll now go into recess and go to the committee of whole that we have done in the past and following our charter. So at this time, we'll take a brief recess from the committee of the whole and go into the committee on committees. This time, this Mayor Pro Tem Clark and the mayor will serve as 2 of those members, and we have to elect a 3rd member. Mayor Pro Tem Clark, do you have a recommendation for a 3rd member, sir?
Recommend Commissioner Howell like last year.
Commissioner Howell, okay, and I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay. Commissioner Howell, welcome back. Did such a great job last year. Welcome you back to that 3rd member. The only item to discuss tonight will be committee on committees as whether to continue the committee of a whole that we've done for the last 3 years. So at this time, I'll hear from either of you gentlemen regarding that item, and then we'll open it up for those not on the committee that don't get a vote, but we'd certainly like to hear from them if they have something to say. So, Mr. Howard, do you have anything to say regarding the committee system?
I'm happy the way they are.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Clark? Okay. And Commissioner Watkins, I saw your light on, sir, so I'll hear from you.
Yeah. The reason I had it on for a nomination, but I saw it. So, but also since I'm here, I've been curious about the committee on committees and the structure to go with the committee on the whole. I know the first time that we had serious conversation on it, it was brought up that this was, if not common practice, something that was done in many municipalities. And I've been kind of doing research on the issue, just trying to find likes and best practices. Could y'all share with me some cities or some places when y'all were saying that? Or other places that do it like this that are like actual large cities? I found some small places that do some interesting things that are populations below 1,000, but like a major 100,000 plus city with a major budget, this seems very uncommon, to the point rare.
I appreciate your concern. I'm not going to relitigate something that was supposed to be said in 2021, but I do know that we've lived this the last 3 years. I'm satisfied with how it's been running at the committee of the whole. I believe it to be more efficient in getting things done and allows everyone to have a voice out front in an open and transparent manner. The way the previous committee system was done in the back there, without constituents sitting in there, and also with only certain members allowed to be on those committees doing a vote, and now we do it all as a whole. So that's all I'm going to say in regard to that comment. I can't answer what people do across the world or other committees. I can answer what we do in Macon-Bibb County. So Commissioner Lucas, you had a question, ma'am?
Not a question, but earlier I was pressing my light because I wanted to make it known that I was interested in being considered for the 3rd member of Committee on Committees, because we have sat here and we've acted like that this population of Macon-Bibb County, 155,000 people, are all male and all white. And that is what you have selected as the Committee on Committees to determine a lot of things, including the structure of the operational structure of this particular body. And so I think I'm the longest serving person here, probably one of the longest serving ones in this community, I dare say in the state. I've always tried to do what was right for most people in this community. You can check the record if you think that I'm wrong on that, but I think I'm right. And y'all forgive me because I have this stuffiness, and so I can't hear how loud I am or how low I am. So just forgive me, but I'm gonna finish saying this. But I was gonna offer, as a Black female representing the majority of voters in this community, a very vital part of the community. And I think it's short-sighted that we present to our community that all we have are white men in leadership positions. So that was going to be my comment. I know I didn't have a vote on Committee on Committees, but I do appreciate being able to say that, and y'all still can change your mind if you like.
Commissioner Lucas, I apologize. I didn't see your light on regarding that. I'm sure that Commissioner Howell will step aside and let you be the third member of that Committee on Committees. I don't think he has any problem with doing that. We certainly like you. I had known you were interested in it myself. I would have made that be a nomination. I watch the light as it go on, so that's what we'll do. So if he doesn't mind that, I think we can.
I'm perfectly fine with
Yeah. So it's just me and Mayor Pro Tem Clark. So Mayor Pro Tem Clark, and we'll make. This is just a third member, Ms. Wynn. I appreciate I appreciate your consideration, but we decided on this time to go with Commissioner Lucas, the oldest serving member of this body and who is term limited this year. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. And Commissioner Lucas, welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sure the women of this community will look at that as symbolic, but it says a lot. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it, and I hope we can remember that toward the end of the meeting. So at this time, we're going to move on
Me
to
too.
reconvene the committee of the whole, and we're going to move back into the new alcohol beverage licenses. We have several. We have several items on the agenda for alcohol, or at least a couple of those. The first one being Goldie's Cigar Lounge located at 2308 Ingleside Avenue.
I heard that we're reconvening, so the committee of the whole met and decided on the committee structure?
Yes, sir, we voted on committee of the whole. Okay.
I knew y'all met and who was on the committee of the whole, but I didn't hear like any conversation on said committee structure.
If y'all want to do it again, just to clear it up, that's fine.
Well, we did on committee of the whole. I'm satisfied with that, so we're gonna move on. Goldie's Cigar Lounge located at 2308 Ingleside Avenue. There's a picture of that located there. They have met all the legal and necessary approval there. They're a limited liability corporation. Legal does recommending approval on this, and they have submitted their certificate of good standing. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. The next is Guitarras Mexican Grill Express located at 5577 Thomaston Road. This is a new location expansion, I believe, over near Publix. There it is right there. Likewise, they met all their legal and constitutional statutory requirements. Legal has documented all that. They have a lease there. They have a certificate of good standing. At this time, we'd entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
I heard Jones and Howell. Okay. We'll get Howell and Jones and Lucas all together there. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Going to move on to appropriations. We've got one item for appropriation tonight. This is item 7A. This is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize the appropriation of up to $4,363,550 in American Rescue Act funds and American Rescue Plan Act funds, revenue replacement for the purpose of funding various projects authorized in the American Rescue Plan Act, and the final rule concerning expenditures of local funds. We have a couple of sponsors there, but I want to read independently these items here on the agenda. Specifically, and we have people in the audience today that are here in support of these. We're going to begin with Section 1. In Section 1 on this particular list is the Macon-Bibb County Commission does hereby approve and authorize the appropriation of up to $1 million from American Rescue Plan Act funds in accordance with the regulations issued by the U.S. Department of Treasury to use for funding for Crisis Line and Safe House of Central Georgia to be used to fund the establishment of the One Safe Place Macon Justice Center as a disproportionately impacted nonprofit. And I would ask everyone that's here in support of that project, if you don't mind standing at this time. Now, Commissioners, you did receive some documentation earlier on what this project is. And of course, this has been before us for the last couple of years, 18 different agencies under one roof. This would substantially help them accomplish their goal on the way to other matches that they had. I had one commissioner who reached out and asked a question. I believe Ms. Sims responded to that. So they are, in fact, asking for this. This would be our contribution. One of the only ones in Georgia, I think. There's one of three in Georgia, but certainly we have 18 under one roof. And our district attorney, thank you for being here today. She and I had some conversations on yesterday, and she's excited about this project and it moving forward. I know everybody in this room is. So that is one portion of that. If anyone has any specific questions, I'll ask one of the people to come up to the podium if you've got a specific question.
Just a brief overview of it for those who are watching.
Sure. We have some people at home that don't know as much information as these commissioners have, so we'll ask their director or someone to come forward to give us a brief synopsis about how great the program is and some of the things that y'all do and some of the partners that you have. So thank you for being here. Please identify yourself first, and then you can begin talking.
Hi, I'm Sarah Shank. I'm the director of the One Safe Place Macon initiative. Thank you so much for having us here today, Mayor, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you. Just a really quick overview of what we're doing. For those who may not be aware, One Safe Place Macon will be one of Georgia's first family justice centers. Family justice centers are best practice throughout the country. There's over 100 of them throughout our country and several more worldwide that have been identified as a best practice for serving victims of violent crime, specifically domestic violence being one of the key ones. Our Family Justice Center here in Macon will serve victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, and elder and dependent adult abuse. We have really wonderful services in our community, as represented by the folks here, that already serve those victims and their families, but we have come together as a collaborative and decided to take collaboration to the extreme by moving into the same building together to flip the delivery model of how we serve our vulnerable community members by having centralized intake and centralized navigation. So it is, as it says, one place where our victims and their families can go, one door that they need to walk through, where they will have a navigator to walk by them with their journey to help prioritize the services they need, and we will have over 16 agencies that are underneath that same roof and immediately responsive, as well as additional agencies who are committed to responding to that building should their services be needed. So a family that's encountered domestic violence or multiple victimizations within the family has that entire team in their corner and ready to go. And it's meant to be a place where they can continue to come back, crisis, short-term, long-term, and whatever they might need for what they deem to be their sustainable future. So we're really excited about this opportunity to be one of the first opening in the state of Georgia.
Thank you for that information. Commissioner Howell, you had a question?
Rang home with me with what you was talking about, elder abuse. You know, that's more prevalent than we think in our community. So it's good to know now that there's somewhere that we can point people in the right direction, because, you know, a lot of times there's no safety net for those folks to fall in if that happens to them. And I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Commissioner Wynn?
Thank you, and I spoke to you earlier, and I'm so glad that all of these things are going to be under one roof. I think that's important, so you'll have access to a lot of things. And this is going to be probably for a lot of women that come here that you serve. So like I said to you before the meeting, I hope we find a place that's good, has enough space for everything, and where they can find it easily, like on a bus line or something like that, they can get to it. So I wish you luck in finding the right location to serve the public. And good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Lucas, did you have your light on? Yeah. It came on and went off.
I just wanted you to name for the public, because we've had access to the information. I've read through it, and I've always just thought that this was wonderful to have the collaboration that's embodied in this. But for the public's information, if you would just kind of list, I know we stood up, but if you'll list everyone that's involved, and even though they're not all under one roof, the services are available under that. So if you don't mind.
Certainly. Well, let me tell you the ones that we know at this point are planning on coming into the center and being on one roof. Crisis Line and Safe House of Central Georgia, which serves.
Can you speak into the?
Let me move this. So we know that are co-locating and planning to move in. Crisis Line and Safe House of Central Georgia, which serves both domestic violence and sexual assault victims. We will also have Central Georgia CASA, Family Counseling Center of Central Georgia, a team from the Macon Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office, a team from the Bibb County Solicitor General's Office, law enforcement from the Bibb County Sheriff's Office, Georgia Legal Services Program, Bibb Community Partnership, Resilient Middle Georgia, Macon Periods Easier, Macon AIM, representation from DHS, the Division of Child Support Services, Southern Center for Choice Theory, Crescent House, First Choice Primary Care, and the ARC Macon. And we will also have One Safe Place Macon Central staff, which will be our navigators and our case managers, as well as our Camp Hope and Pathways Central Georgia program, which is for children who have been exposed to or affected by these victimizations, the year-round mentorship and summer camp program that's free to our local families.
Right.
In
Thank
addition,
you
we'll have
so
other
much.
organizations that will
Yeah.
respond.
Thank you. And I just want to say to the public, these programs are not always the focus under every administration, and I'm talking about the national administration. So we need to be very, very careful when we cast our votes this year, because some people support these programs and some people do not. And you know exactly who supports and who doesn't. So that's just my encouragement.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas, and thank you for being here. We're going to move on to item 2, section 2. This is a Macon-Bibb County Commission authorize and approve appropriation of up to $2 million from American Rescue Plan Act funds in accordance with regulations. This is for Macon Centerplex and Carroll and Creighton Park. This $2 million will come back before commissioners for a vote once we send everything out to procurement. But just to give you a little bit about what this entails, recently we discussed, Visit Macon discussed the great news that Bibb County has gone from about $3 million in sports tourism up to about $14 million, which is a substantial amount. This is their numbers, not mine, over the last several years. As we know recently, just this last week, we had over roughly 1,000 people at the pickleball. And I know some people had questions about that, but I'll tell you that we had people from 2 different countries outside the United States and 25 states playing pickleball for about a 5-day period of time. Was the economic impact for about $1 million on top of many other tournaments. But we have more than just pickleball making, and this is what we wanted to focus on. We are really needing to fill the gaps on things like basketball, AAU, and Georgia High School Association basketball. To do that, as well as volleyball, as well as cheerleading, to do that at the Centerplex, you're going to have sports courts and other types of facilities to invest there in order to have 6 at one time, and that's how many we need. So we've been working together with our partners and with those across the state of Georgia to say, how do Macon-Bibb County attract these types of events to Macon? Well, to do so, we have to invest in facilities. We had a study done a few years ago. It came back and said that we were short on facilities, and we decided this is a way that we can make it work. We're already in conversation to book in all those types of events there. And not only that, many of you will remember great programs like the Flag City that held it at Carroll and Creighton Park, former Central City Park, when 500 or more teams were there, bringing money to Macon, bringing business to Macon, and helping our small businesses. And Bibb County did a good job of putting some money in the SPOS the last time to get some of those fields ready, but we didn't quite go far enough. We're still if you're gonna host baseball and softball games, you gotta have batting cages, and there wasn't any batting cages there, wasn't any mounds there for youth, and some lights and scoreboards and things that are needed there, and some work on an additional field. All that in our best guess estimate on all these items, based on what we've been gathering, is about $2 million. We think it's a valuable investment for our students here in Macon-Bibb County, as well as our citizens, and for outside travel coming in. More importantly, because of the OLAS, every penny on that dollar now goes to rolling our taxes back, which helps us fund our services for our community, and it also puts money back in our taxpayers' pockets so they can invest locally. So this $2 million will be going for that. It will come back before you once we get the bids and everything, but this is something we need to get started on immediately. We have some softball tournaments we're hoping to come together. We're also looking at football, rugby, and soccer. So I know Commissioner Bronson's been giving me the eye down there. If those things are coming, we have facilities for that, and we'll have some information to bring you shortly on that. We're in conversations with all types of folks there. But I do think we need to continue to invest in these type things, and I'm looking forward to the basketball coming. We used to pack the house over there, making some good memories and some good fun for Macon-Bibb County. So that's what the $2 million is for. And I had a question from Commissioner Watkins.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I was curious. I saw it in the news report too. Like when you referenced the economic impact of $1 million, like what is that? Is there a follow-up report? Who like does that, and what does that mean? That mean like we got an extra OLAS revenue of $1 million or $1 million? What does that mean?
It means economic impact. You can talk with Gary Wick, he'll be happy to give you the computation, but that's the accepted principles and way that they can figure how much money is generated by different events in our community. They take the type of event you have, the duration of that event, the amount they spend while they're here, how many hotels they stay in, and they compute that to a dollar amount per event and per person that's spent. The number they gave me was $1 million. Just like the December that we had there, we had about 500 people. Some of those didn't come quite as far. They look at those that stay in hotels, but that event there had 350 to 400,000 economic impact. So just like they do on every single thing that we do, including the new national park, all of our GSSAs and things that happen there, these are figures that the people in the business like Visit Macon use their national references to come up with amounts they're used for spending dollars in our community, just like they do when you say every dollar you spend is worth this much in return. So that's something you have to talk to Gary Wheat with them. I trust him as an expert. They do a lot of business for us, and we've shown that we've increased our tourism substantially, and that's the numbers I'm passing on from them.
So they is the Visit Macon.
Visit Macon.
Is
Yes,
doing that report. Okay.
Yep.
And I heard you on the capital improvements of the place. I'm curious on how much short we were from the SPLOST proceeds for those same facilities. But I'm also curious and more curious at this moment, how does this impact the overall ARPA funds? This because I support everything here, but just curious on
the remaining balance is around
Yes.
$6,200,000.
Okay.
That amount does not count money that we have allocated but yet spent. So there are a few funds that we subtracted out, say like the food desert funds or the capital for that. That money is still available, but it's not calculated in this amount. So that's on top of that.
So currently none encumbered. After this, we'll have 6.3 remaining. Is that what you're saying?
I'm looking at Miss Moore. 5.6, my bad. Okay. The other amount I gave you is because we had some. Remember, we had the incentive we did for COVID vaccination, and we estimated X amount of dollars, and we only used a certain amount. We had money we used for other programs that we didn't use all that amount. All that have come back into the fold. And some of the funds we use all that and disperse all the monies, but we're roughly in the $5.66 million remaining funds right now on the ARPA funds that are undesignated.
Before this, it was 9. After this, it'll be 5. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess my other question, I got an email, as it relates to the remaining ARPA funds and the previous what we spent as it relates to MVP. When will we be getting that January closeout report on what's happening there? It's been more than a year now.
I think what we indicated last time is that we were trying to have a report by a couple of those by the end of the month in January. Our primary criminal analyst, if you may know it, Sergeant Centel Smith, was moved from the criminal analyst position to the jail to work there. So we've got a new person assigned, but we also have all the MVP Community Foundation grant folks that we're going through the process. But all that stuff is going to be done at an appropriate time. Nothing's changed from the time we talked. We told you we'll be evaluating at the end of January, and we had a RFP or a final decision made by April. But the funds haven't stopped. The particular fund that you're talking about with Cure Violence still has funding there, and there's still other funds that we'll be allowing them to have on a month-by-month basis to make payroll.
Okay, and I guess that program is, but I'm also curious on the overall. We've funded more than a year ago, more than 20 programs, and I understand there was a renewal since then for some programs. How many programs have started, stopped? What was the result? What was a good performer, bad performer, or things that I want to know, and I think members of this body would also like to know. So I'm hopeful that you've indicated before the end of the month or at the end of the month, we'll be seeing more on that?
I think that's when we'll be evaluating the program. So remember last time we had a whole laundry list of people that came here that gave a report and information on the first round of that we had. I think this time we had 41, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see Jeremy Grissom here, but our MVP coordinator went through the same process. I won't say re-up on all that. Some of those are new folks, and some of those folks that got money before was determined that their program was successful after we had that meeting. And they've been another round, and they're only a couple months into that, but all that'll be evaluated at the appropriate time. And we'll do the same thing. We'll have them come tell us who was awarded the grants, what they did with it, and whether or not we can measure success on that or not. And then we'll have another round of funding before that money expires that we set aside. We did set aside about $5 million, I believe, just for crime intervention alone between ARPA funds, and the $2 million came from general fund expenditures.
Okay, and thank you for that, but hopefully, again, you can send that to us in some form of a narrative that we can process, because there's a lot to say, and again, the director isn't here, so.
Right. Well, since that wasn't on this particular one, and I got your email at 11:32 today, I did talk to Mr. Grissom, and we'll try to get you what we can on that until we can have a time where everybody comes here to talk about their projects. But right now, we're in the process of letting them complete that, and we'll evaluate it. But in the meantime, we're on, at least on a month-to-month through a change order. I'm authorizing funding to be held on employees for Cure Violence.
And thank you. I mean, that's good to keep the program going, but again, I would even like to know from that program if it's good or if it's bad, if it's working, what metrics they have, because we're doing month-to-month. Yeah, how long? Anyway, I'll yield until we get more information, but it's important.
All right, we're going to move on to Section 3. Section 3 is a Macon-Bibb County Commission. I'm sorry, popped up late on me, Ms. Lucas. Go ahead.
Was this the ordinance where you mentioned to me the library?
No, ma'am.
Funds?
That's going to be the one.
Which one?
It's going to be the next one, I believe. Yeah, the next one. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay, so if we could get that.
Yeah, the one coming up.
Okay.
Mr. Howell, did you have something on the sports, sir?
I certainly did, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you for recognizing
Y'all
me.
keep turning your lights off before I
My
can
light's
hit your
been
button.
on for 10 minutes. I just wanted to go back to something you've already said, and Commissioner Watkins touched on it too. You've mentioned twice in the meeting already that the tourism has gone from 3 million to 14 million. And then Commissioner Watkins asked about the economic impact. As most of you all well know, that I spent 22 years in a different community that is based on tourism, that is their industry. And that particular town spends about $25 million a year in advertising. So I think that we're just now starting to see the tip of the iceberg on what this community has to offer. And this is before we even get the new park at our doorstep. And I want to commend the administration and everybody that's been involved with the growth so far. I mean, I know there was a lot of naysayers with pickleball, but if you've been over there when they've had these tournaments, you can't hardly get in the door. I was over there Saturday and it was full. And people just don't understand that if we spend a few dollars, we get a multitude of dollars back. I think it's about, for every dollar you spend, you get 67 or something dollars is the latest thing. So when we start talking about economic impact and what it has on our community, that is a metric that the communities use all over the country. And it's also how advertisers spend money. It's how events are planned. They look at how many people came and all that. So we skim over those numbers and glaze over them, but I want everybody to understand how important those numbers are. And just want to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to move on to Section 3. Section 3 is the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving and authorizing the appropriation of up to $500,000 for American Rescue Plan Act revenue replacement funds in accordance with the regulations of the U.S. Department of Treasury. And this time it's for the Middle Georgia Regional Library for the establishment of a library at 5494, a new library branch. So Jennifer, if you don't mind coming forth and identifying yourself, and I always butcher your last name, that's why I didn't use it this time, but you talk about that. And I know we've got, I want to hit on Shirley in just a moment as well, but in particular, we'll start with this $500,000 for the new library branch. And Mr. Ford, do you have some pictures or anything on that? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so I'm Jennifer Lotzenheiser. I'm the Director of Middle Georgia Regional Libraries. And we're here today to talk about the project at 5494 Forsyth Road. Some of you were in your current roles when the West Bibb location had to close. And we have continually looked at an opportunity to restore services to the northwest side of Macon-Bibb. Part of that is with the library annex that will be at the Macon Mall. Also the opening of the Bloomfield Library for folks who may struggle with some transportation issues, particularly our young people who are using that rec department. That's been very successful there. We believe this is the last piece in that effort. It is at the crossway of Bass Road and Forsyth. The most important part of that takes us back to the closing of West Bibb. We made the decision, we actually being our library board, years ago that they really wanted to make the movement towards fiscal responsibility out of rental units. The Riverside location costs over $100,000 a year in lease payments, and we feel that moving into a location that we have full ownership of is fiscally responsible. It redirects those rental payments into public services and actually services delivered to our citizens. And I'm open to any questions you might have about that project. Actually, if I may give you one tidbit. We are here asking for $500,000 in local funds to contribute to this project. I want to make sure that you know the other parts of the project because it is not a $500,000 project. The state has already committed $932,000 for this project. The library in local funds and donations, we have raised over $700,000. So Macon-Bibb, we're asking for the smallest amount from the local government, but the state certainly likes to see that local support.
Thank you for that information. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, thank you. And how are you doing today? Good, listen, this library, these pictures don't even look like what I see. I live within walking distance of this library on Forsyth Road, and I know you took a daycare center and you're remodeling it to be this. This looks fabulous, but I don't recognize it because it doesn't look like what I see as I pass it every day almost, going up Forsyth Road. So, and I've been watching and waiting to see when it would be finished and ready to use. Have you got a completion date, or are we too early to ask that?
Well, we're a little early for completion date, but I will tell you that the internal demolition will start in the week of February 8th. And so when you drive by on Forsyth Road, what you see is what is currently the Friends of the Library workroom. They used to have a rental, and they are a 501c3 that supports the libraries. It's very common for libraries to provide some area for their Friends of the Library to do their workroom. And by moving them out of their rental, that redirects more of their profits directly to the library. So that's what you see directly at Forsyth Road. The two, I call them equal signs, they used to be classrooms. They're parallel. Those will be combined with the addition that comes in the middle, which will take us to about 1,000 square foot.
Wow, okay. It's coming along, but it seems slow when I was watching this develop. You're on the corner of Marjane and Forsyth Road, right
That's
there.
correct.
Everybody uses Marjane as a cut-through, so that's why I see it almost every day.
Okay.
But we're looking forward to it.
And you know, it's slow when you're soliciting those donations and those grant requests, and that's what has taken us to
I
this
see.
point.
Okay.
So we appreciate your patience.
Thank you.
And before we finish up on this topic, I know I spoke with Commissioner Lucas earlier. Commissioner Jones, did you have a question on this right here? I do. Okay. while we're
Jennifer,
still-
tell me again, the local was $700,000, and what is that composed of? What's
The,
who is the local?
So I think the library, the local library is what you're referencing. And so that is the regional library funds that have been provided. Part of that was out of a fund balance that years ago, the library board had allocated some funds for future construction. And so that was about 400,000, which was used to purchase the property and do some initial site work that needed to be done for it to even be considered for this process. The other 400,000 includes local library funds that were allocated for general facility and 232,000 local library funds was a total of 172,000. Of that, 100,000 of it was a private donation. The additional 232,000 was through grant requests and private donations to the library for this specific purpose.
So both the regional and the local have a library fund that was already in place, and so they're using funds from that.
Previous library boards had allocated funds for capital improvement.
Okay.
And so those were used, yes.
So those funds were already in place.
That's correct.
They'd already been allocated. They were sitting there.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner
welcome.
Howell? Quit hitting your light. Your light's on, go. You're good. Oh, you don't want to talk now? Okay, thank you. I'm gonna give you a citation here. So we've talked about that. I think most folks are supporting that. Commissioner Lucas said, I knew that she's always passionate about East Macon. I knew Sherwin Library was something that she's asked about in the past. So if you can give us a brief update on that particular project, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I'm happy to. We appreciate your support for the Sherling Library, and there are some SPLOS funds that we had hoped for a state match. Unfortunately, the state match has not come through. However, we have worked with our state agency, Georgia Public Library Service, to obtain some match. It's not the 90-10 match that we had originally hoped for. It's a 50-50 match. But the good news is that years ago when we planned what we wanted to do to the Sherling branch, that included a tech loft and things like that. Well, we have learned as time has gone on that libraries are moving away from those large tech centers because now people like the mobile type things. So what I'm saying is the plans we made years ago are already outdated, but the good news in that is that what that library really needs, we can actually afford with what we have. So we've already done a full lighting upgrade to to LED and all of that. And then we will be able to install an elevator, which will make that lower level more accessible. And most importantly, we will be able to build out those community spaces that we hoped for in that lower level, which will mean that community agencies will be able to have their meetings there more comfortably. They're currently doing that, but it's not, it just has the ramp, that sort of thing. So we can still meet the core community needs with the funds that have been allocated and this match that will become available from Georgia Public Library Service in FY25, which starts July 1. So we're not going to improve the north and leave behind Shirley. We're going to get both. Yes, ma'am.
Like hearing that, because Sherling Library has been kind of out there a long time. Will the square footage increase? Did you say that?
It will not increase. We don't have the funds to increase it. But
What's the size of it now?
Off the top of my head, I cannot give that to you. I apologize, but I can give that to you.
Yeah, it's small. It's cramped.
Well, the biggest challenge with the square footage of it right now is that lower level is not fully accessible and able to be used by the community. But once we get an elevator in there, then it will be fully accessible. And I think that's going to alleviate that cramped feeling. The square footage that we were going to add was for a computer lab, which again, libraries are moving away from. Most people like to check out the technology and move to where they're comfortable as
Right.
opposed to the
You have a
lab.
computer lab at Washington?
We do.
I know you do. It's
Yes.
wonderful. You have a computer lab at the others?
We do. One thing I do want to point out about Washington is we are decreasing the size because it is not used at the level that it used to be. And at 5494, they will not have a computer lab at all.
Okay. I just wanted to, I'm comparing.
Yes, I
Um,
understand.
And I know there's some folks on the state level who are very, very concerned about having those resources in all communities. So I think it's still important. A lot of people still use the library.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. I wish we could have gotten that state level support to had done the 90-10 sooner. But I think this redirection and getting the 50-50 match will at least help us do what needs to be done without
Okay.
further delay.
And you didn't ask the county for additional monies for that,
For
but
Shirling,
you
no.
asked for another site.
We ask for what we need, and the county had already allocated $900,000 for Shirling. And so instead of coming to the county and asking for more, we went to the state and asked for that 500,000, or I'm sorry, that 50-50 match from the state. So we did ask for Shirling, but we didn't ask the county for more. We asked the state for more instead.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Wickers.
you.
Commissioner Wynn, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just to follow up, Jennifer, real quick, I just understood you say that you're downsizing your computer lab there?
Slightly, yes.
Downtown.
Yeah,
but-
well, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So,
yeah.
so you're not, I like the genealogy part of it, so that won't be part of what's gonna happen on Forsyth Road? You know, where you can look at your genealogy on the computer, try to track that down?
So that's a great question. Thank you. When I say that we are downsizing computer labs, we are not downsizing technology access. What
Okay.
we are downsizing are desktop computers and workstations because those are less popular than our checkout technology.
Okay.
So now when someone comes in and says, I want to use a computer, we're able to say, would you rather a Chromebook to make yourself comfortable within the building or outside, or would you rather come into the computer lab? And so, for example, with the Chromebooks, one of the most popular uses are virtual medical appointments. So people don't want to do that in the computer lab, but they want a stable internet connection. So they check out a computer lab, they go to their car, they have their virtual medical appointment, and then they bring the Chromebook back in. And so that's, just one example. They also do it for job interviews and all of that stuff, that they would prefer to do that in a more private space.
So you will have that on Forsyth Road?
They will be able to check out Chromebooks in the same way that they can at all of the other locations,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Bronson?
Hey,
Hey,
how you doing?
I am well, thanks. How are you?
Doing well. First and foremost, thank you for the work that you're doing in the community. I have to ask, being that District 2 kind of covers, we touch point with North Macon, we touch point with East Macon, downtown, and parts of West Macon. One of my major concerns has always been Housing Avenue, South Macon. And just out of curiosity, is there any plans that that may be to put some type of a resource center, using that term very loosely over there, resource center on the Housing Avenue area that can allow the kids to utilize the technology that we do have? I know we do have Memorial Gym, but that's across Eisenhower Parkway, and that's a little on the dangerous side. So I'm trying to figure out a way we can get something closer to with the buildings that we do have. Prime example would be right across the street from Bruce Elementary School would be a perfect spot, and or if utilizing the old bank that we have to make it as a resource spot for kids to come and utilize. But is there any plans in place for South Macon?
don't know that you're going to like this answer,
Oh,
but
boy.
here's what I will tell you. That on February 3rd, we have our strategic planning retreat, which everyone should have been invited to. And if not, I will make sure that you get a new invitation. That is planning out the next 3 to 5 years and the focus of the library system.
Okay.
I'll tell you that any place that there's a need and also adequate funding for, we would not refuse.
Hey, buddy. Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, Mr. Bronson. Okay, thank you. I believe that's all of our questions on the library, and we have one more, I think, item there before we move on. And the person that was going to speak on this was supposed to be here at 5 o'clock, but I don't know, we need a whole lot of discussion, but I'll go through it. And I'll ask Pastor Ficklin to answer any questions he may have, and he may know since he's been involved in this project as well. This is Macon-Bibb County Commission, Section 4, approving or authorizing the appropriation of $763,550 from American Rescue Plan Act Fund revenue replacement in accordance with the regulations by the U.S. Department of Treasury to funding Currics Ministries, a match for federal funding for Unionville Clinic, a free medical clinic in Unionville neighborhood. This is something that needed. This is something that early on we were in conversation and collaboration with. There's some issue down there?
It's in the body of the ordinance under 7A. Also not necessarily. No, it's not. No, this is just the cap.
It's just the very next paragraph from what I've been going over, and you should have that. It was online and sent to everyone. Okay, all right. But the bottom line is $763,550 to Currics Ministry. This is for a Unionville clinic, which is a free clinic in Unionville neighborhood, which is what we determine to be an underserved community with medical wise. And in collaboration with Mercer University, we have been looking for opportunities to get folks out into the neighborhoods to get treatment. And Unionville is one of those areas there. And they agreed to furnish some folks there that could work. They have to get hours in, just like we do over at Brookdale and other places in, for students coming in that can't do the major things, but they can do a lot of the things that help our communities out. And because of that need and because of the information they provided to us, Dr. Ficklin was instrumental in meeting together with Congressman Sanford Bishop. Congressman Bishop ran it at the flagpole. And awarded a grant. It's not one of those grants where it's 50-50, but I think it's, 75-25, Ms. Moore? 75%, 25%. And there's other funding possibilities as well. But in order to protect this project, we needed to go ahead and move forward with ours. And that is the $763,550 for that project. The location of that will be in Unionville. They're still working out all the details there. Mercer will play a part in it as far as helping provide the medical services there. And Dr. Ficklin, of course, will be following that project as well. We had Miss Lane. Is Miss Lane here? I see Dr. Ficklin there. Who is this? Oh, okay, perhaps. Oh, I see. Hugh Sosby walking in right on time. But we had Miss Lane and Miss King that was going to speak on it. And I hate to put you on the spot, but if you don't mind coming down and kind of tell us about Dr. Ficklin, you tell them what I'm about to say. We apologize for letting you know 5 o'clock when our meeting started at 4, but.
The students, but this is a ongoing project. Actually, it was conceived in 2002 and presented to Juanita Jordan and the Peyton Anderson Foundation for funding.
Dr. Ficklin, as tall as you are, sir, if you don't mind moving that microphone up, you're the exception. Speaking of that.
So actually, it was conceived in 2002, and of course, we had approached Juanita Jordan with the Peyton Anderson Foundation, and of course, many things have happened since then. But talking with Congressman Bishop and getting that grant, now is a wonderful time to move forward to giving services in the Unionville community. The Unionville community, in addition to this, is also having the regional commission to look at a small area plan for Unionville, as well as the TAD. All of those things are going to go and try to uplift this community that a lot of people feel have been overlooked for many years. And we have the students at Mercer who have agreed, Dr. Sumner, to provide students to help facilitate and run the clinic once it is built. This grant is just to build the clinic so that there will be a place for people to come and get services in Unionville. A survey run that showed that many people are suffering from various illnesses that if they had the attention drawn to them, high blood pressure, sugar diabetes, and various things like that that are causing their lives to be shortened. So this grant hopefully will help to put a facility in place that these wonderful students at Mercer Medical School can come and begin to render those services to those students, to those persons in Unionville.
Okay. Not sure if Mr. Soames can add anything else to that, those conversations, but we'll be glad to hear from him if you can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Hugh Sosby. I work for Mercer. I do government relations work and other duties as assigned. I've in the past, I walked into court one time. Court in our county starts at 9:30, and on the other side of the river, they started at 9. And when I walked in, and the mayor said I walked in, the same thing with Judge Parrott, and he said if I'd have been one more minute, I'd have been late. Anyway, Mercer's glad to help Dr. Ficklin and the community with this. This is something that the medical school and Dr. Sumner are committed to making sure to encourage volunteerism among the students and doctors down there. The students' participation in it is limited to what they can do as a student. There's not a doctor commitment there, but we're going to volunteer, encourage them to do that. This is a great thing, and it's part of what Mercer does as a mission, and Dr. Ficklin be congratulated for trying to help those folks around him there to get this to happen. If there's anything we can do, got any questions, be glad to take them now or offline at anybody's desire.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Mr. Watkins, you had your light on, sir. You still have a question?
Yeah, and again, I think it's a great program, great idea. Just kind of curious on some of the detail, and I understand that this is for the brick and mortar and there are other funds to come. In the future, when it's built though, I'm understanding it to be a free clinic. The operations of it, Mercer's gonna maintain through the.
We're not operating this. This is something this Dr. Ficklin and we're gonna run. We're supporting what they're doing.
Yeah, this is Kirk's Ministries that'll be operating that. There'll be other funding provided to that, and the medical services, to what extent they can do, would be provided by Mercer and/or probably others, but at least for Mercer.
We hope there'll be more. I mean,
Yes,
we're here to facilitate, be a success with that.
And Kirk's Ministry, and I heard the students, so Kirk's Ministries also has a doctor component?
We're in negotiation with three actually, very wonderful doctors who recently moved into the Macon-Bibb, Georgia area, and they are currently practicing at Piedmont.
And just help me out, I hadn't heard of Kirk's Ministries before. Who are the principals? I understood you said they couldn't be here today, but.
They can be here, but they're just coming late.
There's Ms. King.
But it's been in existence since 1998 in Unionville.
And just, I guess, the principal operators one more time, if you. Or the director, CEO.
Phyllis Lane and Gloria King.
Okay. Oh, Ms. King.
Yeah, Ms. King.
Okay, okay. And I guess, what are y'all thinking? Nothing. I yield. I yield. Thank you.
This is just for the brick and mortar. We're trying to protect these funds that was given to us. There'll be a lot more follow-up, including selecting a builder to make renovations or a new building in that area. And of course, we'll be looking for a memorandum of understanding with Mercer and others on what the relationship is there that's coming forth. I know you've been working through that process. So that concludes the 4 items. The last item here is $100,000 for Macon-Bibb County approving or authorizing the appropriate funds for American Rescue Plans, and that is to be used administrative expenses, including technology and personnel costs associated with the utilization of all these funds. Ms. Moore, if you don't mind just giving a brief synopsis of that. I know it's one of those catch-alls that gets put in here, but we have to document, cross every T, dot every I on these things, and of course this includes carrying out the wishes of the ARPA funds itself. So if you just tell us about that $100,000, I'd appreciate it.
Correct. We have a internal technology piece that we interact with people that we've given food distribution grants. So this is just the subscription cost for that technology, as well as some of the funding that we need to continue for people who are working on the grant. So we have someone who is helping with the reporting that's paid out of this grant, MVP coordinator paid out of this grant. So this is just another series of expenses to cover for between technology and personnel.
Okay, thank you for that. That does conclude the total items that we mentioned on item 7A. At this time, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Lucas. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We'll go on our consent agenda tonight. Thank you all for being here. We're going to move on to items 8 and 9 before we do have to go into executive session. Item 8A is a ordinance of Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize a supplemental appropriation of $300,000 from the general fund, and it's for the roof at this building that we're in today. We had allocated some funds, and y'all previously approved some funds for this project, but when we got all the numbers in, like everything else, pricing has gone through the roof, no pun intended, and we needed some more money, so this is what the supplemental is for on this roof to get it repaired. It is an older building, but we still try to give it some TLC. So at this time, entertain a motion for approval of those funds. Motion by Commissioner Wilder, second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. I'm going to move on to 9A, which is establishing and fixing qualifying fees for the 2024 election. You should have all that information in your packet telling you each position and the qualifying fee for each, which will be qualifying in March and election May the 21st. In our general primary, some of those elections will be over that time. Others that are partisan will be carried over until November in our presidential election year. So this is the approving the schedule that has to be done in order for those to qualify, and we need to send this to the Board of Elections. And our attorneys have prepared all this and made sure the fees are appropriate. So this time I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Can I get a second by Commissioner Lucas? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. I now entertain a motion going to executive session for the purposes allowed by law, including real estate, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, and all the judicial items allowed by law, and open executive session. Motion to go into executive session? Motion by Commissioner Jones. We get a second. Second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We're now in executive session. Go ahead and take your restroom break real quick before we go in, if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to finish our regularly scheduled committee of the whole meeting first, so you'll still have time to be able to sign up if you want to speak for tonight's meeting. We'll be getting started a little bit later on that meeting, but we're going to finish up this meeting first. So this time, I entertain a motion to come out of executive session. Motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by Commissioner Wilder. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We got 3 items to consider tonight on the remaining on the agenda. The first is going to be a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to appoint an interim commissioner to complete the unexpired term of Commissioner Al Tillman, the District 9 representative of Macon-Bibb County Commission. Earlier today, we had a resume. Well, actually, we had a resolution on this commission, making a resolution by the mayor's office and others to add a Ms. Brendalyn Bailey as an interim position. And for those of you that may not know, the charter calls for, in the event of a vacant seat on the commission, if it happens within 12 months, and clearly on January the 9th, when Commissioner Tillman officially resigned and turned in his letter of resignation, within 1 year, that term expires on December the 31st of 2024. Then at that point in time, the commission can appoint someone within 20 days. And if they do not appoint someone within 20 days, a special election will be held. That special election will be held in May the 21st of 2024. And on that, you would have 2 positions on there for the same seat, one being an interim position and the other one being a 4-year commitment beginning next January. So my position on the matter is that we don't need to have that seat empty. We'll be going through our budget process on that by the time the election happens and an eventual runoff possibly, that seat would be left vacant. And according to the law, this commission can choose to appoint that position for interim. There has been some conversations where some people may not agree, and I know they may speak tonight on the fact that the person that will be holding this seat would be considered an incumbent, which is what the law suggests. And regardless of all that, the recommendation that I would still make would be a resolution appointing Ms. Brendalyn Bailey as the representative for an interim basis for that position. Just some information on Ms. Bailey. Ms. Bailey was the only person who ran for office 4 years ago against Commissioner Tillman in 2020. She is a lifelong resident of District 9. She has a BS degree from Mercer University in Human Resources and a Master of Business MBA from Wesleyan College. She has been a parapro and other teaching at the Bibb County school system, including substitute teaching in over 20 different schools, and also being an instructor for Central Georgia Technical College. She is a black female. She is a Democrat. That district is composed of those demographics as well. That is one indicator, but not the only indicator on that. Those are the reasons that I made the resolution to nominate her for that position. If she chooses to run, she would do so by qualifying in March and running in May. And my position is that she has the absolutely right to run for that position if she chooses to. And that is my recommendation, and I would ask for a second, and then we'll take questions or concerns from the floor. Got a second by Commissioner Wilder, and now we'll take questions, and Commissioner Lucas, we'll hear from you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, first of all, move to amend this resolution to state that the person accepting this interim commissioner position would not seek the full term.
Okay, I hear the amendment by Commissioner Lucas. Is there a second? It dies for lack of second.
There's a second.
I'm sorry. I didn't see his light or hear his voice. We have a second by Commissioner Bronson, and I'll ask our attorneys to process on the vote now. Take a vote on that amendment first.
Any discussion on that?
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment?
Well, as far as discussion, I have a concern about fairness in this issue. I do want us to go ahead and fill that position, and I know that's our duty and responsibility to do it. The mayor has followed his duties, and we are now at a point where we've got a recommendation. However, I've been out here and involved with elections and politics and campaigns and things for a long time. And it is totally unfair to all those who have already announced that they want to run for this position for us to create an incumbency with one person who has already stated that she plans to run for the full 4-year term. I think it gives an unfair advantage. You would not want to have someone who was put in the position to become the incumbent with incumbent written after your name on the ballot. You would not want it's discouraging to other folks who feel like that someone gets an advantage. And I have no problems with the nominee. My only concern is fairness, and that is why I'm trying to amend this. And I don't know whether the attorney is going to rule that it's appropriate or not, but I'm making that so that you understand my position on this. And I don't want to be put in the position of voting against someone who's offering themselves for service to the community, but I will vote against it if we cannot amend this to state that the person placed in this position of incumbency, if that person does not have to state that they aren't going to run for the full term, I cannot support the nomination.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. You've heard that motion, and there was a second on the amendment. We'll take a vote on the amendment first.
No, we're still in discussion phase.
Okay.
I think I was asked.
Okay. Attorney, we'll hear from you.
Okay. I'm never going to rule Commissioner Lucas out of order. But I will have to say, before you vote on this, I do find it, I have to say this, the charter sets out the qualifications of candidacy for this seat. This commission is not empowered to vary from the charter and add another condition. So in my opinion, even if you do pass the amendment, it's not going to be enforceable. Just so everybody understands where, before you vote, that would be my opinion.
Thank you. Commissioner Bronson, did you have a question, sir?
Out of curiosity, remind me again, how much time do we have to select someone prior to?
20 days.
20 days from the time frame that Commissioner Tillman vacated the seat. All right. Has it been 20 days? No.
You have within 20 days, yes, sir.
So in essence, we still got a little time. We can bring forth nominations prior to, and as stated, I have nothing against the nominees either. I truly believe and support the cause on that end. However, I do feel the same exact sentiments as Commissioner Lucas. It's ensuring that we have a fair election across the board. I get it. I understand it. I grew up in Bellevue. I've seen the work that she has done and so forth. However, but therefore, and I still believe that we need to do things the right way and decent in order. And doing so, making a vote to place somebody in a seat, that's not the route that we need to take as a body. I understand what you're trying to do, sir. I support it on that end. I get it. But let's make sure we're doing the right things in the process. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ronson. Any questions or comments?
Point of information.
Yes, ma'am.
To the attorney, you stated, and I do rely on you an awful lot and trust what you're saying. But if the charter is silent on that particular aspect of it, is it not open to the interpretation and vote of this body? And state exactly what it says.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the charter provides that the eligibility requirements for a commissioner shall be residency in Macon-Bibb County for 1 year immediately prior to the date of election. They got to continue to reside in their district during their term. You got to be a citizen of the United States, at least 21 years of age. You got to be in the citizen of the state for 2 years, and then you've got to have been a resident of your actual district, in this case, District 9, 1 year up before the election. And then you got to pay certain stuff to, if you're qualifying for election if you did it in March. The law is that is an exclusive list. The charter was passed by the legislature, and so the answer to again, without never ruling you out of order, but my legal opinion is that you cannot condition anybody to run for that seat other than what's in the charter, particularly if they don't agree to it, and I don't think they could even agree to that. I don't think anybody can agree presently not to run for a future seat. I think that's out of the bounds of the charter, and I don't think it's enforceable.
Okay,
That's
where
my
does
legal
practice come in? Because in the past, I've been here long enough
Sure.
to have seen a position, I believe it was Commissioner Wynn, the position where Gary Bechtel resigned. And yeah, and the person, there was a position that became vacant on this commission or on the council. And at that time, the decision was made that the person who would be nominated for that would not seek the full term. And I believe Jamie Kaplan served in that position for a few months. And then when the election came around, she had served out that unexpired term, and so the new person was elected. But that was the practice.
Commissioner Lucas, not to question your memory, but that was not the case with Commissioner Wynn. There was more than 12
Well,
months.
I might have misspoke, but I know that
There was not an appointment.
there were resignations and other kinds of things, but there was a position. There was a situation where the person, the policy of this board was that the person nominated to fill that unexpired position would not because because it gave an unfair advantage to the person who was placed in that seat, who then became the incumbent with the name on the ballot and incumbent after the name, which draws attention immediately to that person and gives them an advantage. My whole thing is, I don't want anybody to have any advantage over all of these other very fine candidates who have announced that they want to be out there.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. I just want to be clear that is not the policy of this commission. That is not the rule nor the law. That may have been city council prior to consolidation. Well, Ms. Wynn in particular was never replaced by anyone. There was a special election because there was more than 2 years, I think, left on that term. Y'all didn't ever appoint anyone. It hasn't happened during consolidation because that rule would have had to been followed. But city council perhaps done that in the city council days, but of course in 2014 when that became law with consolidation, that is an impossibility to put. Otherwise, what prevents the commission from putting that position has to be a male or has to be someone who lives on this particular street or has to be someone that's 56 years of age.
That's different.
It's, but I'm telling you that's the
different.
law that we're following to a T. Every single thing that we have done is to make sure that that is not an empty seat during a primary time, but also we're doing it exactly like the law. I didn't draw consolidation up, and I know people have opinions on both sides of that, but I am charged with following the law as written, and following the law as written means a resolution comes before this commission, and the commission can vote it up or down, and if they vote it down and 20 days passes, that seat is unoccupied until such time that election can happen. It can only happen on May the 21st. So I understand what you're saying on the amendment, that it's not an impossibility, and just for people on the commission that haven't been here before, we don't recognize people from the floor in our commission meeting. This is our meeting. We appreciate you being here. There will be 5 minutes that you can talk if you sign up for. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. We have our officer coming here. I'm not going to deal with this tonight. We're going to do it in an organized fashion.
So did the attorney rule that that was not
My opinion is that,
appropriate?
that's okay. Now, my opinion is that if y'all do pass this amendment, it would not be legally binding on the appointee if you then appointed the candidate and prevent her from running anyway. I mean, you cannot, in my legal opinion, I think I'm right about this, that you cannot condition her and tell her she can't run for a future office, and it's a condition that you're imposing that's not in the charter. I'm not trying to rule anybody out of order, but that's just my legal opinion, and it's pretty clear, I think, from the charter.
So I guess Jamie Kaplan agreed to not do that. Well, I tried, and if I could, I certainly would introduce that as an amendment to this, because I think this just sends a bad message to those who are putting themselves out there and wanting to have an equal shot at running for office. So that's it. Thank you for your indulgence on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas.
And I'll
Commissioner Lucas.
withdraw my
Okay, thank you.
amendment, since in your judgment, you have said.
That's right.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Watkins, did you have a question, sir?
And I understand fully it's legally permissible. I completely understand what you're saying, but it does fly in the face of, if we're talking about 200 years of us being an organization, some of those years, because even though it was the old city of Macon, it's still part of this history of this space. So I remember the Jamie Kaplan scenario as well. You're correct. And I also remember the sentiment and the precedent that we're now breaking of having, it's happened a few times actually in the old city, of having someone serve that's not planning on running for election. I think we all can appreciate, as people who've ran elections before, that this does at least can appear to the public that we're setting someone up and giving them an advantage. That's what members of the public have alleged that might happen here today, and we're confirming that. And I guess I asked for it, and I think several members, probably not the majority, asked for a nomination that was someone who was separate from the political process that's happening in the next few months. And that has been appeased in no way. Not a slate of names, just one name, take it or leave it, sent to you at 1 o'clock today. Right, that is a wild way to show respect to the rest of this commission. And I yield. I think Ms. Bailey is a great person, but again, that's a wild way to present something to the commission.
Thank you,
at least
Commissioner.
myself.
Commissioner Watkins. Commissioner Howell?
Yeah, something occurred to me while I was sitting here listening to the conversation. And I agree with Commissioner Watkins that, I heard this name when I walked in this afternoon. So, but after we met and read the thing, I asked a question. Ms. Bailey, didn't you run for this office I'm sorry, I was not to address her. Did she run for this office? Is this the same Ms. Bailey that ran for this office?
Yes.
Okay. Just my opinion on this. If Commissioner Tillman had resigned after qualifying, Ms. Bailey would be the incumbent, and she would have served this commission already for 3 years like I have. So she was the one that I see was very interested in this job 4 years ago. She's obviously still interested in it, and if she continues to be interested in it, that's the decision that the District 9 community will make. But to tell her she can't run, I just don't agree with that. And she would already be the commissioner if Mr. Tillman had decided to resign 3 years ago instead of last week. That's it.
Assuming there was no other candidates running at that time, but yeah, let's track a little bit. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, since my name was brought into this, I want to clarify completely that when I ran for office, it was vacated 2 years before the end of the term, and I had to someone had to run for it. You couldn't appoint someone. So you had to have a special election, which I did. And we went through that, and I was elected for the last 2 years of this 4-year term. So there was not an appointment. I was elected to this position when I ran. Thank you.
And just to be clear, that's because the law differentiates when you have 2 years left as opposed to having less than 12 months left. So we're not going to beat a dead horse, but at this time, we're going to go ahead and move for a vote. All those in favor of the resolution and recommendation to appoint Ms. Brenda Lynn Bailey on an interim basis to fill Mr. Former Commissioner Al Tillman's seat, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay. Commissioner Wynn, how do you vote? Commissioner Bronson, how do you vote? Commissioner Lucas, how do you vote? Commissioner Jones, how do you vote? Commissioner Clark, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Wilder, how do you vote? Commissioner Howell, how do you vote? Mr. Watkins, how do you vote? Okay, thank you. Motion carries 5-3. We're going to go ahead and move on to purchase of land. We have an item on purchase of land. This is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to sign such documents as necessary to purchase a parcel of real estate known as 108 First Street, being 2.26 acres, more or less, for the total amount of $4.8 million payable from the general fund balance, sponsored by myself. As you may recall, this is the old Hilton Hotel, Ramada Hotel, where Elvis stayed, where you had your graduation at, all these things in our community. It is a large blighted property in our community. The judge recently said that Macon-Bibb County was able to contract on this particular property, and no appeals have been filed, and this property is something will be closed within 30 days of the properties. So that is my motion. Can I get a second? Second for Commissioner Jones. Yes, sir, Commissioner Watkins.
District 9 take the seat. When does that start? Because right now, we just voted on it.
When they get sworn in. So we'll arrange for a swearing in for District 9 Commissioner as soon as we can get with the judge. Okay. We're talking about purchase of land for the old Hilton Hotel right now. I got a motion and I got a second. Any discussion regarding the old Hilton Hotel? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 12B is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to sign such documents are necessary to purchase the parcel of real estate known as 151 Madison Street, such parcel being 5.13 acres, more or less, and an amount of $1.5 million payable from the Blight Remediation Revolving Fund. As you can see on our screen there, this has been commonly referred to as the Macon Charter Academy, Progressive Christian Academy, and anything else over in that area as well. Not pictured on that, you also have a gymnasium there, as well as a a church facility, or it can be used for other purposes. Our intent would be to purchase this property. Quite honestly, this particular building that you see here is probably a demolition, is not salvageable. But what we would hope to go there in the future will be affordable housing, 70 to 80 residences. And we look forward to working with the Pleasant Hill community to get a gymnasium there, as well as a potential co-op there. And in unsuccessful passage of this ordinance, we will be meeting with them for a walkthrough on the property during our due diligence portion. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Motion by Commissioner Jones. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Lucas. Pro Tem Clark, you got a question, sir?
Yeah, just at the appropriate time. It's not tonight, but I would like to look at the ordinance that I think I and Commissioner Watkins authored a number of years ago that allocated money for grocery stores, for brick and mortar grocery stores. I think if we're looking at putting a co-op there, to see if we need to update that, to see if those funds would be eligible to help make sure that is a staple in that community if the Pleasant Hill Neighborhood Organization so deems it fit.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, I'd like to be added as a sponsor on this. I just think the idea of having additional affordable housing is just so wonderful. And the infill arm of Macon Housing has a wonderful track record on a lot of senior facilities and rehabilitations. And so I'm just hoping that this will will come to fruition. And in that area where Dr. Betty Talbert had a very successful school, I just think it's just, yeah, excuse me, and we have named a park there in Dr. Talbert's honor. And so I just think this is just a wonderful thing. That building that's there, thank you, my friend Mallory.
May not want to take that.
I'm going to hold it over here. But that building was just never really appropriate for there. It never was safe. It never was built to last. And so I'm glad that there's a proposal for something that's really going to enrich that whole little area in there, especially for the Pleasant Hill folks who've worked so hard over there. So I think on things like this, which set a tone that all of us as commissioners ought to sign on as co-sponsors, just like we did on the airport extension and just like we did on some other things that were kind of groundbreaking, no pun intended, but groundbreaking kinds of things for the community.
I agree. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Watkins? Yeah, Joe, I don't, sir, or not?
And I think it was on for the hotel, but with both of these, it's a bit jarring. We're spending a whole lot of money to demolish spaces. And I think the upcoming plans are great, and I look forward to hearing much more about it. I can remember when that was, Progressive Christian Academy, maybe for this, and I guess, just feeling kind of sentimental on the history of it. Maybe it would have been better if we never tore that down, because it seemed like we headed to a vacant lot for the foreseeable future. But I'm excited about what may come of it, though.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, like I said, we have included the Pleasant Hill community, and some of the things that they brought to my attention was some of the historical significance of that site itself and wanting the ability to maintain some of that historic architecture there. I understand it's one of the first black libraries that we had there in the area, something I didn't know about, but certainly a co-op is needed in that area, and I think they're excited about that. We have some additional funds that have not been used for that purpose that we allocated some money to. So I think that would be a good conversation to have. So I do believe we have a motion and a second on this item. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about 6:28 if I look at that thing correctly. We do have our regular meeting starting in just a minute, but I'm going to take a 10-minute recess so I can gather myself on the consent items and non-consent items. Get me a cough drop and a bottle of water. Anyone that needs to talk, we have a lot amount of people here today to talk. If there's multiple people speaking on one issue, we have the ability to limit that. We try not to do that very often, but it's not going to be repetitive. I will ask you to maintain decorum in this place here. We never have to get our friendly officer over there. And Sheriff Davis, thank you for being here tonight too as well. There's a lot of times people are very passionate and emotional about things, and I think we're going to maintain decorum tonight. And I'll point one finger at myself and make sure I do the same. We're human beings and we're subject to getting emotional sometimes, so I certainly agree to do that. But we have some good business to take care of, and we're going to be respectful of everyone tonight. So at this time, we're going to adjourn this meeting, and we'll see you back in about approximately 10 minutes. Thank you. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macon-Bibb County Commission meeting. This is our regular meeting. Today is June the 16th, 2024. We're a little bit behind, so it's about 6:43. We're going to begin our meeting like we always do by welcoming everyone here and calling to order. We also have a prayer tonight, so those of you that can and will, please stand and bow your heads. Our prayer tonight will be led by our own Pastor Jason McClendon from the Community Church of God. Thank you, Pastor, for being here, and to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. To our mayor and distinguished commissioners and Sheriff Davis and our distinguished guests, let us pray in the presence of God. Father in heaven, we thank you tonight for this privilege that we have to sit here in this assembly meeting, dear Lord, as we carry out the business for our city. Your word teaches us to seek the shalom, the peace of the city, so that all of our citizens will do well. We thank you, dear Lord, for the innovation and all of the wonderful things that have been taking place during this term. We pray, dear Lord, that you would give our civic leaders discernment, that you would give them a heart, dear Lord, to do what's right for the people. We also pray for extraordinary wisdom and understanding that they will need in carrying out all of these duties. We pray, dear God, that you would help all of us to have understanding as we bring our questions and our concerns before this commission. But God, we continually pray that you would bless the city of Macon, that you would bless Bibb County, and that your presence would be here on our elected officials and also in this meeting. In the precious name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior, let us all say, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, we have a few presentations tonight. Our first presentation is presenting certificate of recognition to USA Boxing National Championship participants, Victoria Dooms. Did I say that right, Dooms? Dooms, my bad, somebody misspelled on my page. And coaches James Hand and Patrick Anderson, Saeed Saidi, and Jermaine Randall. Hopefully I didn't butcher those up too much. Commissioner Virgil Watkins will be doing that. Thank you, sir. And if he calls your name, I guess you want him to come forward and take a picture? Okay.
This is a congratulatory certificate to Miss Victoria Dumas, Gold Gloves, stand up, Gold Gloves USA Boxing Champion for 2023. Just got through participating in a 5-day tournament, multiple fights each day, and she won them all. Right here from Macon, Georgia. This is the first time we've had a female boxer win that tournament for us, so this is a huge win for us. She's also been, again, she's working out of the United Boxing Center that we've been supporting throughout the years at Freedom Park, and that we're renaming today. And what's another? Oh, let me give you your certificate. And you also, everybody stand up here. I'm gonna call y'all one by one.
Victoria, if you don't mind, come up to front, and the rest of you stand right there.
And again, boxing isn't a solo sport. You get in the ring, you do it, but our coaches are here as well. Mr. Jermaine Randall, Patrick Anderson, and James Hand. And Coach Sadie.
Thank y'all for being here tonight, and we do appreciate the great work that our women and strides are making in our community, so keep up the good work. And I couldn't tell, she's been in 5 matches here recently. I don't know about you, but she's doing a good job, so whoever's teaching her defensive strategies got to be doing a wonderful job too. There you go. My man, good to see y'all. We have another recommendation tonight, so I'm going to ask Commissioner Lucas if she'll come down to the bench with a special honor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to, at this time, as chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Board, ask our other commission members if they would come forward, please. Joyce Gray Humphrey, Sharice Stevens Merriweather, June O'Neill, Reverend Lisa Watson, Dr. Mary Butler, and Gwinnett Westbrooks. Dr. Ficklin leave?
He's working another job right now.
The legislation creating the Dr. Martin Luther King Board was passed unanimously by the former Macon City Council and was signed into law as a part of our Code of Ordinances by the former Mayor C. Jack Ellis. After consolidation, this government saw fit to bring forward that legislation into the new charter for Macon-Bibb's consolidated government, and we are just so grateful. These folks have served, these folks have served for a long, long time, keeping the life, the legacy, the whole aura of Dr. King alive for this community. And we have a slogan that it's MLK 365, because we know that his life, his works, his ideals are relevant still. There's still a need for us to advocate for everybody, to make sure that we advocate for the rights of our people. And so we also need Macon Black Culture to be up there, advisory and a partner. And at this time, what we would like to do is to present something that we've been promising for a long time. Y'all come on up and join us. We each year designate organizations that are partnering with us. We look at the activities that they plan throughout the year. The King Board, we simply endorse and support and attend the events, and make sure that the public knows about all of the occasions that highlight Dr. King, his life and works. And so we have organizations of the year. Over time, I have been negligent in not presenting to these organizations their tokens of appreciation. So at this time, we would like for June O'Neill to step forward with the mayor. This plaque is presented to June O'Neill with the Mentors Project. And we are recognizing the Mentors Project, which has helped to save the lives of so many of our children and our families in this community. The Mentors Project was the organization of the year in the year 2000, 2002, 2004, 2006, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22. So it's our honor to present this. Mr. Mayor, if you would present that to June. Okay, thank you, June. The next organization is a new partner with Macon-Bibb's Martin Luther King Board. The organization of the year for 2023 is Macon Black Culture. So if y'all will step forward with the mayor. We are so pleased that our young folks are getting involved in making sure that our future is secured. So let's give them a hand. Here's the, okay. Thank you so much. And now, we want to recognize this organization. They have been with us since before the inception of the Dr. Martin Luther King Board. This organization of the year is the Evangelical Ministers Alliance, and I believe they've been in operation over 40 years. If y'all would step forward, and I'm going to read the years. They were the organizations of the year in the year 2001, 2003, 2005, and this is the president of the new president of the organization, Pastor Leon Ward. 2005, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 2021. Mr. Mayor, if you would present that. And we want to give a special recognition to the coordinator, Pastor Lisa Watson, and her assistant coordinator, Dr. Mary Butler, and all the members of this very fine organization. Okay, you got them, Chris? We also want to, we know y'all are gonna take those plaques and hang them up somewhere. But what we want to do is to present this perpetual plaque to the mayor, and we want to find a suitable place for it, a very visible place for it. And it has the small plaques that recognize all of these organizations as organizations of the year. And so I think we've run out of room, so next year we will have to get another plaque to be placed in a suitable, very visible location in your Macon City Hall. Thank you all very, very much for everything that you've done. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas, for taking care of that, and she's getting caught up. She's been here 40 years. She's term limited this year, so she want to make sure that she checks all the boxes. So we appreciate the wonderful job that she's been doing, and we will find a suitable place, and I know she'll provide some assistance on that. I will tell you that I had the pleasure of attending many MLK events yesterday, and it is truly MLK 365, and we should never forget that. The march was fantastic. Pastor Ward, I'm glad he didn't speak today because he kept me there about 2.5 hours sharing everything with me yesterday. Did a wonderful job explaining some things. Thank you, sir, for your service. Making Black culture, not only they help with this, they've been largely responsible for our Juneteenth celebrations that we'll hear more about this year. So if you didn't participate in any events this past weekend, shame on you. You got to do a better job as a community to come out and support from each of our areas, because Dr. King marched not just for Black folk, by the way. He marched for all civil rights, and we all need to remember that. So we appreciate your effort and everything that you continue to do. So we're going to move back to our meeting schedule. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. The approval of the minutes will be from December the 19th, 2023. That's my motion. Can I get a second? Got a second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We're going to move on to public comments on agenda items. These are items that was listed down for that were related to the agenda items themselves. Therefore, they'll be at this portion of there. You have up to 5 minutes to speak. After that, we have some old business. Then we have our consent agenda, and then we'll have public comments on non-agenda items. So this time, we'll call some folks forward on that. And I'll begin with my good friend, Gwinnett Westbrook. She wanted to speak on the appointment of District 9 Commissioner. Ms. Westbrook, thank you for being here and for everything you do for our community. And if you don't mind going over to that podium, I won't start your time until you get there and say your first words, and speak as long as you want, but 5 is a cap, and we appreciate brevity.
Thank you. Good
Thank
evening,
you.
everyone here today. I wanted to speak on the appointment of the District 9. I am a registered voter of District 9. I've been a registered voter since I was able to register to vote. So it's very important to me. Democracy is very important to me. I feel that I have been deprived the right to choose because of the appointment. I'm going to say this because one of the commissioners made the statement that District 9, that the Ms. And I want to say this, I have nothing personal against Ms. Bailey. I don't know Ms. Bailey, but I feel that because of the appointment, it has deprived the voters of District 9 the right to choose who they would like to represent them. One of the commissioners made the statement that she is the only person that ran, and I want to say that I think before the appointment should have been made, they made the statement that she did run before. During that time when the election took place, District 9 came out and voted, and they voted for who they wanted to vote for. If you look at the record, it shows that Ms. Bailey only got 100 and something votes out of District 9. So if we had wanted Mr. Bailey to represent us, then we would have voted for her, and she would have had more than that number of votes that when the registered voters voted. I think that should have been taken in consideration, the number of votes that she received when she did run, because if that's who we would have wanted, we would have voted for her to represent us. My concern is not is freedom of choice, and we didn't have that. We don't have that choice to vote for who we want to. My concern is not the date that Commissioner Tillman resigned. It's the date that legally, to me, is the date that it was determined that he moved out of his district. And I think that that's going to be an issue in all of this, even though the appointment has been made. The fact that he resigned in January, we're looking at the fact that when he moved out of his district, and it may have been before May, because when you're selling a house, you're not normally in that house when you're selling it. So my concern is that we should be looking at the date for appointment. If he had resigned in December, then we would have been having a special election and not being appointed for someone to represent us. I am very concerned about that, as far as our voting rights. I feel that my rights have been taken away from me. And like I said, it's no offense against Ms. Bailey, but I did not have the right to choose, and that's a concern with me. I just want to address that with you all, because it's not right. We've been protecting the right to vote for people for many years, and to take that away is very disturbing to me. I am a registered voter, District 9, and me not having the right to choose is not right. And I'm not going to just be able to stand still and just accept that. I know that you all have voted, and you're going to be taking places. You have 20 days to appoint someone, but we rushed and did it. My concern is in question whether or not this was intentionally done for him to step down in January instead of December. That's going to be a big thing, whether or not he intentionally. That's what we're going to have to prove. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrook, and thank you for being here tonight. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Joshua Billings. Same thing, Mr. Billings wants to speak on District 9 interim commissioner appointment.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Hey, thank you, Mayor Miller, commissioners, and Sheriff Davis for your time. I currently serve as chair for Macon-Bibb's Democratic Committee. However, I am here as a citizen concerned with the integrity of our county's democratic process. I'm addressing my concerns regarding the future of Macon's 9th Commission District. I was disappointed to hear of Commissioner Tillman's resignation and despondent when it was confirmed that a special election would not be held for his constituents to elect a successor. If the resignation was tendered before January 1st, a special election for District 9 to choose a replacement should have taken place, which would have been ideal. I appreciate all of you for being available to clarify the county's process for filling vacant commission seats. I understand the board has a responsibility to fill this vacancy within the specified 20-day period, and I appreciate your diligence in doing so. However, I'm here to ask you to reconsider the timeline for certifying this recommendation. With 2024 being an election year and our county's municipal elections taking place in less than 5 months, I want to reiterate that it would be beneficial for the commission to appoint an individual who has not expressed or declared their intent in running for this same seat. When I say this, I mean that their intent was either expressed to the Board of Elections or to the public through candidate interest meetings, social media, etc. Through sign-in sheets from candidate interest meetings dating back to June, as well as phone records as recent as last Thursday, I can share my knowledge of who has indicated their intent to qualify and run for District 9's commission seat this March. No offense to the individual recommended for this appointment, but I believe that they are one of the first individuals to make their intent known publicly. I, along with others, believe it would be a conflict of interest if our commissioners choose to appoint an individual who has publicly indicated their intent to run for District 9's commission seat. There is precedent for appointing people to vacancies during election years. The municipality's governing body will typically appoint a person who agrees not to campaign for the same office in which they're being appointed. That way, candidates can campaign against each other without the risk of somebody becoming an incumbent mid-race. I'm sure you understand the importance of keeping a level playing field for all candidates during an election year. Therefore, the individual being considered to serve as District 9's interim commissioner should not be someone who has already publicly declared their interest in running for this position. Outside of our private conversations, Ms. Bailey has publicly announced her intent to qualify and run for this seat several months before this meeting, several months before this recommendation. You will be sending, by appointing a potential candidate to their desired office during a contested race, you are giving that person an incumbency advantage before they could be elected in the first place. You will also be sending a message to municipal candidates that the county can hand an advantage to a candidate after they indicate their interest. Furthermore, as a proponent of the democratic process, I am disturbed that the county intends to move forward with appointing an interim commissioner before setting aside ample time to consider public comments from District 9's residents. Although the deadline has passed for a special election, I believe that the voters of Macon's 9th Ward deserve to have their votes heard before a final decision is announced. Now they are entitled to make their opinions known regarding the future of District 9's leadership on May 21st. Thank you for considering these concerns. I am sure the board took appropriate steps to ensure a fair and impartial process for filling this important position. The democratic principles we hold dear must be upheld during this transition, and I trust the board to prioritize transparency and fairness in making this decision. I appreciate your attention to the matter and look forward to a resolution that reflects the best interests of the constituents of Macon's 9th Commission District. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here tonight. Next person is Mr. Greg Turner. Mr. Turner would also like to speak on District 9. Mr. Turner, thank you for being here tonight, and you likewise have 5 minutes, sir, to speak regarding that position.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak. Mr. Mayor, we are concerned about you yourself putting someone in the vacant seat. When this person did express, and I again reiterate that I have nothing against Ms. Bailey. I don't know Ms. Bailey, and I've never seen her. If I have, I didn't know it. But if you appoint her to the seat, you're taking away our opportunity to have a fair election. This is not the way it should go. Martin Luther King said, there's always time to do what's right. we ask that the commission do what's right. Miss Bailey mentioned that she wanted to run. She declared that she was going to run in October and November. And then in December, we know that she said that the mayor was going to appoint her to the position. And that was on December 20th. I think it's unfair, Mr. Mayor, that even that far back, that you would take the time to take away the rights to vote from the people of the 9th District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Well, that concludes the public comments on agenda items, and I do want to remind everybody, May the 21st is the election for that particular position, and you will have your opportunity to vote. The public comment on agenda items is complete. We do have an old business item that we had while Commissioner Tillman was still with us on the floor amendment tonight, is a resolution to amend the name of Frank Ray Boxing Arena at Freedom Park to Ray Montgomery Boxing Arena in honor of Michael, Malik, and Mikhail Montgomery. That's sponsored by Commissioner Watkins. Can we get a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Bronson. Was you sponsored that, sir? Third by, we got unanimous support of all commissioners for that. We talked about it last week, and certainly just tweaking that name after it passed last week is something that we should honor. So Commissioner Watkins, you got something to add, sir, or not? Yeah. I saw you like, come on, go off. Yes, sir.
And I think you summarized it pretty good. Like I say, it was, y'all gave me with Commissioner Tillman leaving, y'all gave me a chance to make some tweaks. I think earlier when we first passed it, it was the Bishop Frank Ray, Mikhail Malik, Michael Montgomery. So just using the last names for the Ray Montgomery, keeping in mind that it is for those two individual families, though.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So we do have, I think everybody listed as a co-sponsor on that. We'll respect that right and make sure this honored in an appropriate manner. So this time we have a motion and second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, we're going to do items A through P with the exception of item F. We'll handle separately on an ordinance there on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion A through P, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Oh, so N was in there?
Excuse me?
Okay, the appointment of the interim 9 was in the, I'm sorry.
It's in the consent agenda, yes, sir.
All right.
You can certainly oppose it if you like to. All those in favor say aye, opposed, nay. Nobody says nay? Consent agenda, yes, sir. Items A through P with the exception of item F. You want N removed, is that what you're telling me? Okay. We have A through P. We got a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Now we got a separate motion on item F, which was an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission amending a portion of section 28-19 of the Macon-Bibb County Code of Ordinances to set the maximum speed limit on Ingleside Avenue between Vista Circle and Riverside Drive at 25 miles per hour, sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Seth Clark, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Lane Lucas, and Commissioner Clark. You want to discuss something on that, sir?
Yeah, the only change that, there's an amendment on your desk at the moment. I'd like to take the amendment up to clean up the legislation. Just in drafting, it said from Vista to Ingleside, which got us to the same end goal, but this is much more clear that it's just all of Ingleside, which was my original intent and the co-author's original intent as well. So if we would take this amendment up, that would be just to clean it all up.
I thought about that.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second on the amendment. Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the amended item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, that motion carries. We have public comments on non-agenda items. I think we have a couple of those. All right, we got 1, 2, 3.
Those are all the same topic.
Okay. Same topic, so I'm not sure which one of the group would like to go first. This is considering Lock Chopping Landing, and we all know that situation there. So I'm not sure if there's a particular person who would like to go first. If you do, I'll be happy to take you first. Otherwise, I'll start calling those names out. Sorry, right before we do that, you can go ahead and approach Ms. Rose, but We're going to take item N separately. This is the, what we just talked about, filling out Tillman's district. It passed earlier in there, but they want to pull that item and vote separately on there, so we'll do that. All those in favor of item N, filling that in expired term, please say aye. Okay. Got a roll call by Commissioner Lucas. All right. Commissioner Wynn, how do you vote? Commissioner Bronson, how do you vote? Commissioner Lucas, how do you vote? Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Clark, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Wilder, how do you vote? Yes. Mr. Howell, how do you vote? Yes. Commissioner Watkins, how do you vote?
No.
Thank you. Motion carries, and the motion passes. Now we're going to move on to Ms. Rose Brown. Thank you for being here tonight, and we want to go ahead and give you an opportunity to speak. We know this is a difficult time for you. I appreciate you being here tonight, and then if there's any other folks that we need to hear from after that, we'll move in according to your order. So you have 5 minutes to speak tonight, and let me first of all tell you I'm so sorry for your loss. I do appreciate your service to our community and our schools, and certainly know that you're engaged, and your husband was a great part of our community. So, and you and I have had some conversations on the phone and some exchanges, and I just ask you to be mindful of a current investigation so we don't do anything that may harm the case. But certainly we'll hear from you at this time. If you don't mind speaking into that microphone, because sometimes it can be a little bit hard, and you're rather tall as well. So that's a good thing. So I want you to speak in that microphone so everybody at home can hear you as well.
Good evening.
Good
evening, Mayor Miller. I also want to recognize the Bibb County, Macon-Bibb County Board of Commissioners Office and Sheriff David Davis, as well as the Macon-Bibb County community. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Sylvia Rose Brown, and I have with me Pamela Brown, Matt's mother. I'm here to speak to you on behalf of my husband, Brian Matthew Brown. Matt was not only a wonderful husband, he was the son of Pam and Larry Brown and the brother of Jason Brown. He was also a friend to many, and he loved his Lock Choppy Landing community, so much so that he gave his life for them. He was a soft-spoken, yet extremely hard-working man and business owner in Macon-Bibb County. When you look at this picture of my husband, I want you to see that there's a frame around it. However, the image has been altered forever. Hebrews chapter 11:3 states that by faith, we understand that the words were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. On November the 26th, my life changed forever. I never thought I'd be a widow at 48 years old. Each day I have to muster the strength to drive past a crime scene outside my home in Lock Choppy Landing. Instead of the beautiful image of our lives together, I picture my loving husband of 4 years laying bleeding on the pavement, covered in a sheet. That horrific image is burned in my mind, and it replays constantly. I'm able to stand here today because I know there's stability in looking to the Lord to provide that frame of support and comfort. Senseless crime has become all too familiar here in Macon. Like many of you, my husband was vocal about wanting to see change here in our community. Back in January 2023, his business was robbed by thieves that stole thousands of dollars worth of equipment. This continued not only with his business, but several businesses in the North Macon area off of Gateway who've been victimized by crime. These criminals are very savvy and organized. Let me be clear, this is not an attack on our officers. I am extremely appreciative of the work that they do. I can't imagine walking in their shoes every day, and they are to be commended for the heroic work that they do. These evildoers know that they outnumber our wonderful officers. The criminals are organized, and they have one mission, and that is to terrorize our community. Matt and the people in the North Macon area have reached out to law enforcement multiple times, reporting suspects with no avail, which I am sure is documented on 911 calls. I even used his phone to report a female suspect that came back this next day wearing the same clothes that she used to rob a small business owner. Right now, as my world is falling apart, I seek solace and trust in God's plan. He provides my frame or structure. I feel that God has given me a new purpose and perspective. Why am I here? I am here because senseless crime has become all too familiar here in Macon. Perhaps you, like my husband and I, thought we would never be a victim of a horrendous crime. I am here to implore this group for assistance in putting together a frame to protect our community. This frame would consist of additional officers and real-time support for victims. First, we must open our eyes regarding the crime here in Macon. Crime is not someone else's problem. We have to see the problem, name it, and own the problem to truly develop solutions to prevent these crimes. So this means every entity from the mayor's office, the commissioners, and the sheriff's department must come together not to blame one another, but to effectively develop solutions for these issues. Our neighborhood cameras catch a variety of activity from our day-to-day lives, including everything from people walking their dogs to the sanitation workers coming to empty our trash. However, it is rare to see the presence of police officers patrolling these areas, even since this horrible crime occurred. Where is the police presence? This is unacceptable. Currently, we have an officer shortage of at least 200 plus officers. Why is that? Why are we not offering incentives to the people who are keeping us safe? If our focus is on beautifying Macon, we are luring people into a false sense of security. Building an amphitheater, pickleball courts, lofts, restaurants downtown, and spending millions of dollars to acquire real estate in the downtown area isn't going to solve the crime problem. It will only exacerbate the problem. The criminals will go wherever they see an opportunity to victimize people. If we don't address this problem, many more lives will be stolen from us. Never think that it can't be your husband, your son, or your friend. The second issue is the lack of support for the families of violent crimes. The night of my husband's murder, I sat on a curb in shock as firefighters washed away his blood. No one was there to support me during this crisis. We need people to show compassion and empathy. Why wasn't a chaplain there or a grief counselor there? I had to pray and console his parents when I was in no capacity to do so myself. It was as if I was victimized twice. In conclusion, I'm asking that Macon-Bibb County re-examine their current plan regarding crime and together establish a framework of support focused on hiring additional staff, including officers and on-site counselors. We must have a sense of urgency and move from complacency to vigilance to protect and serve all of the communities encompassing Macon-Bibb County. My husband became very frustrated with the broken system when he felt like he was being victimized over and over. That is why he finally took a stand against the Goliath of the criminals and he lost his life. I can't bring my husband back, but you have a duty to the people that live here to protect them. We shouldn't have to feel like we have to step up and take on the responsibility of protecting ourselves and our community. We are not officers, and as taxpayers, it is your job to ensure that people are hired to protect us. It is my prayer that Brian Matthew Brown is the last citizen to be gunned down outside of his door. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Rose Brown, for coming tonight and having the courage to speak, and we appreciate you being here. Yes, ma'am. And certainly, we would like to have some further conversations on some things we're doing that you may not be aware of, but other things that you may be able to help with yourself. So thank you very much for that. I think she summarized a lot of that, but there are still a couple of people out there that wanted to talk. I gave her extra time, but if you still want to talk, if you'll raise your hand, we'll move on to you on that particular issue. Okay, thank you all for being here. You do? Okay, come forward. Tell me your name, ma'am. Okay. Susan Jolly, if you don't mind, if you'll come up to the microphone there. Thank you, ma'am. You got up to 5 minutes to speak. Okay. You might want to move that microphone down a little bit more so we can hear you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for taking the time to allow our community to speak tonight. My name is Susan Jolly. I live in the Lock Chappie Landing neighborhood. Last month, I wrote a letter to the mayor asking for an opportunity to meet with him and a representative from the sheriff's office, and copied our commissioners for District 4, our commissioner for District 4, Mr. Jones, as well as Ms. Wynn and Mr. Clark, commissioners for District 1 and District 5. I have not received a response from the mayor or the commissioners. However, Sheriff Davis called Friday, January the 5th to provide an update on the investigation. We are here at this public forum to express our concerns regarding the handling of the death of Matt Brown on November 26, 2023, and for the overall safety of the residents of Macon-Bibb County. As Dr. Rose Brown stated, there was no advocate for the victim's family on scene when Matt was killed. Of the dozen or more people from law enforcement, EMS, the fire department, and reporters milling around that night for 3 hours, no one reached out to Matt's wife or parents to explain what was happening, what steps were being followed, where Matt would be taken, and when the autopsy results would be given to the family. Macon is a big city with a collection of small communities. In our small community, we are taking steps to safeguard ourselves by asking each resident to install a doorbell or security camera to the outside of their home. We have spoken with Judy Gordon with Neighborhood Watch about organizing a group. Our Board of Trustees is discussing different safety measures that will be implemented in our neighborhood. We are aware of the many improvements that the mayor and commissioners have brought to us. We are aware of the many outreach programs for youth in Macon and would ask for additional outreach programs to help the parents of these children learn and cope with what they are experiencing. We are here tonight asking for the promotion and protection of the safety, health, peace, security, and general welfare of the inhabitants of Macon-Bibb County by increasing patrols in our neighborhoods and notifying citizens of the targeted areas where crime is taking place. We're asking for an advocate for the families of homicide victims to help us understand the process of an investigation, arrest, and conviction of the perpetrator. We're asking for a city where tourists feel safe and interested in visiting. Once again, thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Jolly, for being here tonight. And not to get into a conversation, but just to be clear, I did receive your email. I appreciate that. And certainly I reached out to Dr. Sylvia Rose to try to set something up with the community, and we could not get in our schedules to know what the schedule was to meet with the entire community. But I do feel just a need to say that it's, and the sheriff is here, and we're not going to get in this conversation, but just to give some comfort is we care about each and every victim of our community dearly. And I can tell you, every commissioner on here, myself, our coroner, our sheriff, everybody, we know these things are unfortunate, sometimes unavoidable. But there are occasions that we can't get in front of a microphone and should not get in front of a microphone on situations that involve sheriff investigation. And not to blame the sheriff or direct your attention to somewhere else. That's not the intent. It's just that as an attorney myself and going through representing people and also prosecuting people on both sides of the law, there are people out there that are looking to take advantage of something that you may say about an investigation that could harm the case. And we're always very cautious about overstepping our bounds in an investigation. Never take our absence and our failure to get out in front of a microphone to speak about an incident is not caring. It's generally based on good sound advice that we don't want to do anything to damage or hamper the investigation. Every victim deserves that. I appreciate the response that we got tonight on having people that are families or victims of a violent crime needs to have someone there. And shame on us for not having someone there. And that's just something we're going to have to own. I do know that I've talked to our district attorney. She has given additional funds to provide avenues there, but sometimes it doesn't happen quite as often as we want it to, and she gets involved a little bit later in the process. We'll talk with the sheriff there to make sure that funds are there, perhaps to do a better job of being humane and compassionate to people in there. So that's the best way I can say that. So and this is not just for you, I'm speaking to everyone in every family and every part of our community when I say that, is we care, we love, we respect everyone, and we're still a work in progress. We're still giving police incentives. We still decrease a lot of our crime. It doesn't help you in your situation, right? Because you're the victim of that situation. But we want to do better, and we want everybody to continue to work and do better together. And it starts with conversations like this. So we appreciate everybody being here tonight. And certainly, we know the sheriff is working on this investigation, and he provides as much update as humanly possible without compromising investigation where he can. And I have been in constant contact with him, not only about this case, but numerous cases. And we try to make sure we stay in our lanes and do things that work together with whatever sheriff there and whatever mayor is going to be here, right, at the same time. So thank everyone for being here on that. We have several other items of people that on this agenda dealing with blight and other things. Feel free if you like to. It's been a long night to leave. If not, that's fine. You can stay here for the rest of it. We got 2 or 3 other people who have signed up to talk about other issues. First one is Miss Reverend Lydia Meredith. Ms. Meredith, you still with us? I heard you just a moment ago. There you go. She wanted to address us on blight, crime, and some kind of comprehensive plan development. You got up to 5 minutes. You're not obligated to use them all, Ms. Meredith, but good to see you here again tonight.
Before you leave, community, I want you to know that your voices have been heard, and my comments are comments that I make constantly by coming to these meetings, not just when an incident happens, but coming as Ms. Lucas has commissioned us to come on first and third Tuesday to continue this fight and continue our attention to crime in Macon. It's not going to happen by one visit to one meeting. It's going to have to be consistent attention paid to these kinds of things. And I'm sorry that happened to your family.
Thank you.
Commissioners, Mayor Miller, thank you so much for for allowing me to speak tonight. I want to commend Mayor Miller and Commissioner Lucas and Commissioner Watkins and Commissioner Clark for attending the East and West Side neighborhood meeting, because attending these kinds of neighborhood meetings is an indicator of leadership. Listening to the voices of people in the trenches and communities is important. It's important that we be here and address the issues of blight and the issues of crime. Now, blight was an issue for Cherokee Heights and has been an issue in Cherokee Heights for some time. And when I called about a property that had been burned down and it was in full public view, I was not able to get anybody to answer the phone. But I was told by the person who answered the phone that there were 2,000 plus properties that are on the blighted list. And right now, the attention has only covered 600 properties. So we are in need of a lot of attention to the blighted properties in Macon. Now, the crime rate, according to neighborhoodscout.com, the crime rate is 49 per 1,000 residents. Macon has one of the highest crime rates in America compared to all communities of all sizes. In other words, if you live in this area, you are 1 in 20 chance of being affected by violent crime against yourself or against the property that you own. Now, these statistics that I just mentioned can be changed if we come together in our neighborhoods and to these meetings to work together because all of this is interrelated. Every public safety issue is related to an issue of blight, is related to some kind of issue, and all of these issues need to be addressed. And as Ms. Lucas, Commissioner Lucas mentioned in our neighborhood meeting, in a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan where the commissioner can't blame the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office can't blame the commission, and the AP and the public school districts can't blame the commissioner, and the DA's office can't blame this person. But all of these entities, the DA's office, the police department, the commissioners, the sheriff's department, and the public schools come together to implement a plan that has already been composed, as far as I know, so that we can start to make a change in these statistics. Because these statistics represent human lives. And now I have to go because the Honorable Mayor has flagged me. I'm talking too much, and I don't mind because I'm a preacher, so I'm supposed to be able to talk. Amen. But anyway, God bless you all. Thank you so much for what you do is serving our community. And if we can get together with creating neighborhood meetings for attendance so that we can start working on these issues, it would be a blessing to everyone that lives in this city and to improve the quality of life for everyone that lives here.
Thank you, Reverend Meredith. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Stanley Stewart, you're next. Good to see you, Mr. Stewart.
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, fellow Macon-ites. Normally when I stand to speak, I have something in front of me to talk about. I come up here with something in mind. But tonight, I wanted to talk about the unity in this community. Macon is a beautiful place. It's a wonderful place. I see it like almost like a Mayberry of 160,000 people. If any of you up there needed me, I would be there. I think you all know that. But that's an erosion of the fabric of our community right now. And I'm not one to ever point fingers. Any of you can never say I came up here and pointed fingers at you individually. Never. But the positions that you all are in are lofty positions. And some people may say I stand now because I'm running for an office myself. It has nothing to do with that. Fact of the matter is, to me, the greatest thing you can ever be in a community is a citizen. The man I have on my chest right here never held public office, never cared about holding public office. But the erosion in this community comes about from you all's actions. And it's not, I'm trying to temper my words, it's not, Mr. Mayor, your position, I've known you for a long time. I considered you a friend. It's not about that. But I just want you to understand, and the other commissioners, now 8 or 9, to understand that you've got to treat people with a sense of dignity. And when you come to a position, like tonight, the lady, Dr. Brown, talking about her husband, I know you all feel for her. I know you feel for her, Mr. Mayor. I know that. But the erosion in this community comes about, like the District 9 seat, when people feel like they're not being heard. And you all are going to be in this community long after your terms end. The mayor is going to be here for either 1 year or 5 years. Those 5 of you who are going up for re-election have a certain period of time. We're all neighbors in this community. We should all love one another. So I implore you not to just rubber stamp things, but put some action behind it from your heart and from a place of love. That's the deepest thing we can do as a community and as citizens. I appreciate you so much for your time, each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Our final person speaking tonight is Ms. Keita Maxwell. Ms. Maxwell, you got 5 minutes, and your public comment says call to action, ma'am. We'll hear from you for 5 minutes.
How long, not long, will we sit in fear of not spreading the good news? How long, not long, will we stand and not bring hope? The doorsteps of Macon, Georgia are being deteriorated because we don't love one another. We don't respect one another. And it starts with leadership. Black women have played a vital role in every election, from turnout, voter registration, and anything in between. We are the grassroots. We cannot shut up. It has been called to my attention that the disrespect continues. Every time you turn around, we may not live in neighborhoods like Dr. Brown, have someone come over, have commission meetings. But on the South Macon, at the bootleg, who's gonna go over to his family? Who's gonna say something to him? When are things gonna start to be important that affects people of color in Macon, Georgia? Not just by upon a seat for someone you would like to be there. When Shirley Chisholm sat up and she was on Congress, she stepped off the sideline and said, I want to be a part of this race. When I got into MVP, I got there for change, not for show. And it's time for us to stop acting like we're part of the show and start acting like we're part of the solutions. All I'm asking is for the respect that is due. You don't have to look at me in my face, but Mr. Mayor, I'm talking to you. Leadership has to stand up. It has to be fair to all people, not just some of your constituents. We've been asking for things in West Macon, South Macon, East Macon, but all the attention is going to North Macon. Mr. Jones is out there speaking to those constituents now, but nobody comes to speak to us. Mr. Clark marched with us on Monday, but how many more days are you going to march with us? Because these streets out here is bigger than us. It's bigger than you. You don't take any accountability because you don't want a better responsibility. Black lives matter and black votes too. The ballot box is more than a box. It's a check. Whether or not you define or fund us, we will unite. We will be together. But where will you be? Where will you sit when justice comes? How long? Not long. We need to vote our integrity and have a moral compass. Stop hanging on the low-hanging fruit and climb the tree of justice. How long? Not long. We the people won't stand for it.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. That concludes those that are speaking tonight on our agenda. And our next meeting is scheduled for February the 6th. That will be a night meeting that begin pre-commission 4 or 5 o'clock. Please stay tuned for that, followed by our meeting. Everyone have a safe and prosperous the rest of January, and we'll see you soon.